Well, Nick, it's great to be here at Seven Barrows just before Christmas. I know it's a busy time for you, not just with the racing, but plenty going on at the stables. You work the horses on Christmas Day, you have a bit of a party, and it's all about Boxing Day at Kempton. What's it look like for this year for the big Boxing Day races? You've got plenty of runners here over the next few weeks, but the Boxing Day meeting is always one that you target. Let's talk about maybe the first horse that comes to mind is Constitution Hill and SIR GINO, two horses that our viewers like to hear about. How are they? Any news you can pass on about those two?
Yeah, everything's going well, to be fair. They're both in the Christmas hurdle. I mean, no decisions have been made yet. There's two, obviously, if all goes well and Constitution Hill everything goes according to plan, it stays that way, then he will run in the Christmas hurdle. As he didn't make it to Newcastle, and SIR GINO stepped in. But he's had his little hiccups before that, and we couldn't get him there. So but up until recently, everything's going well. So he's working. I've got to say, he looks really good. I've never seen him look better. To be honest with you, he looks super in his skin, and he's very happy. His work's been good, so if we could get the following wind, we might well get there, which will surprise everybody. Because you wouldn't believe it. Nobody believes me when we say these things. I can sit here for an hour and tell you all about him, but they don't believe us.
And SIR GINO, I mean, obviously, what a great substitute he was for you.
Oh, yes, he's a very, very high-class horse.
And he'll have other entries as well over the Christmas period.
Well, we're thinking, I mean, you've got to bear in mind that State Man comes into this equation because he's owned by Joe Donnelly, who owns SIR GINO. And so there is a moment that you might say, well, does he want SIR GINO and State Man meeting? Actually, he's got another horse in Ireland with Willie as well that looks pretty good. Does he want them taking each other on himself? And as much as we're in the same boat with Constitution, so there is a certain part of us that says, well, keep all these apart. We can do that by switching SIR GINO to fences, and it is possible. You probably saw that JP had a horse Marlborough. I think it's pronounced Marlborough, it's certainly not spelt it like that, but there you go. That won the Triumph Hurdle last year. He switched to fences last week and was impressive. And there is an advantage to running 4-year-olds over fences because they get a very good allowance. If everything was going really well with Constitution Hill, we have schooled SIR GINO over fences. He's very, very good at it. And if everything was right, then that's just what we could possibly do, and maybe even run in the Wayward Lad the next day.
But still lots of decisions to be made before then, so it's open at the moment.
It's got to stay open, and it will do so. Yeah, I'm afraid so. It's going to be a last-minute call. I hope it goes the way we all want it to, which is that Constitution Hill will run on Boxing Day. It's what we want. It's the last time he was seen in public, although he has been seen in public because he had that gallop this morning at Newbury was there for all to see. And to be fair, we've always galloped him in public. We did last year at Kempton. That was a disaster. And I stupidly said, come and watch, and they did, and it was absolutely terrible. I thought we would have learned our lesson to not do that again, but we did at Newbury. And again, it's sort of frustrating because you try to do it to keep everybody happy, and then when they see it, they're not satisfied. And everybody started crabbing him because it looked as if SIR GINO was going better. What we know about SIR GINO and various other things, like nobody else knows what weights they were carrying. I do. So much tosh, they read stupid things into it. Unfortunately, he did come back lame. Well, he was lame the next day, and that's why we couldn't go to Newcastle. And
it just shows you, though, how much of a love for the horse there is out there. They just, they want to see bits and pieces as much as they can about Constitution. And you've done so well to keep them informed about his situation, and lots of people have said to me how much they're impressed by that. But let's move on to maybe some of the other horses. You had a weekend at Cheltenham. Bit mixed, some good performances, some horses that may have disappointed. But, one of the highlights for me was JANGO BAIE, who jumped brilliantly on debut over the fences at Cheltenham, which you don't do usually. So you must have been pretty sure that he was a fantastic jumper.
Well, I have it's a rule of thumb, if you like, but I don't like going chasers making their debut round Cheltenham. I think it's too big a test. Ascot's the same. Those are the two places I would just always be careful with. And just as you've learnt over the years, and there've been a lot of years to learn it over, it does. It can frighten them. Actually, the proof of the pudding will be actually his next run to see if he could, has he thought about it?
Where might that be?
I've no idea, and absolutely none whatsoever. We're very lucky this year. I think we've got a very good squad of novice chasers. So they've all got to, and especially if SIR GINO did come into the mix, that'll cloud it won't actually, because he's a 2-miler, full stop. Whereas these other horses, many of them are going to be 2.5s.
Well, there's a horse that is a 2.5 miler that placed at Cheltenham, PEAKY Boy. I mean, what might he do?
He went 3 miles on Saturday.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was stamina that beat him, I must admit. He wasn't there just to keep them apart. JANGO BAIE, as you rightly say, we went to Cheltenham for his debut. He wasn't meant to. He was always going to Aintree, which was abandoned in Hurricane Shanna, was it? Yes, can't remember.
Dara, was it?
Dara.
Yeah.
Dara. Yeah, something like that. All these hurricanes. He was meant to go there. He was 4-1 on. And that was unfair because that put our whole programme out of sync. He was going there. Lucky Place was going to the 2.5 at Cheltenham. They'd all got their slots. And then once one has missed his slot, it puts the whole game, we had a plan. The plan's now gone out the window.
It must be really difficult for you when you've got all these horses that are similar types, especially novice chasers, needing the experience, with not necessarily enough races for them.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, Lucky Place you mentioned, what a lot of people have been asking about him. Where would you go with him?
Well, he was going chasing, and again, there was just nowhere to go. So we've gone back over hurdles, ran him in the Ascot hurdle, which he won.
Yeah.
Which was terrific. So for the first time, I'm going to say thank you, BHA, for not giving us enough steeple chases, because we're going to go back over hurdles, and we're going to stay over hurdles. And this is the whole crux of the matter, and that everybody, including the BHA, are asking, where are the chasers? But that's where they are. They're going back over hurdles because they don't give us an opportunity to encourage them to go chasing. So he is going to wait for the Cleve hurdle on New Year's Day, which would be a good place for him, I think.
Great. And some of the other horses that ran at the weekend who looked progressive, Joyeuse looked like was going to be a progressive runner. Didn't get the run of the race and was squeezed a little bit, but still ran well.
She still ran very well. It was only she's had only the third hurdle race of her life. Again, in a very big competitive Cheltenham handicap that was run at a crawl. So consequently, you had 20 horses coming off the bottom bend with a chance going to the last. Yeah, she hit the traffic, all right. To be honest, the winner was running away. And I don't think where we'd have been would have made any difference. I think the winner was going to win whatever. And I think she did well to finish as strongly as she did and beat the others. It's just a pity that, once again, a little Irish horse comes sailing over, probably very, very well handicapped, and, that's it.
And the horse that started the day for you, That's Nice, had looked very nice, but was a bit disappointing.
Very. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's something wrong there. There's something very strange about the way she was carrying her tail throughout the race and her jumping, which is normally flawless, and it wasn't silky smooth. We've been through with a tooth comb this morning to try and, we were wondering whether she might have been in season, but that turns out not to be the case. We'll be looking at everything. We've got blood tests that have been done this morning, and I have to say that wasn't her at all. She got very agitated at the start because she got horrible. again, totally out of character. She's so placid. She's sweet. And at the moment, I'm hard to explain. That was not her at all. So we've just got to put a line through it and start again. The whole point of going there, coming back to 2 miles, was try and establish, because our first run was over 2.5, which was perfect. But if she was going to go to Cheltenham for the mare's Novice, it's 2 miles. And so the idea was to try her at 2 on Saturday to see if, she's sharp enough for a 2-mile race around there. I was sort of fairly confident she would be, but not on that, but that was nothing to do with the 2-mile bit.
And one horse that plenty of us love, and I know you love him as well, ran another cracking race in the cross-country, Mr. Coffey, given a great ride by Nico as well. He loves that hill at Cheltenham on the cross-country course, doesn't he? He was good.
Well, it was great because, to be fair, by the end of last season, it was nearly time to call a halt. And I think, you've got to go right back to when he ran that wonderful race at the Grand National. And he took it up from after the Canal Turn and led them virtually to the last fence. And he had jumped and galloped himself for fun, but he threw everything at it. And he was a very, very tired boy. And, you do, as you say, you can get to the bottom of them. And I think that did. And when they do that, it's very hard to come back. And he then had 2 seasons of, the handicapper had him completely tied down. He's actually never won a chase. And he's been chasing for 4 seasons. And I get all sorts of people telling me, well, just find him a nice, easy race that he can win. If you can find me that race, please let me know. It does not exist. When you're rated in the 140s, you've got to take on the 150 horses. Well, you're never going to get an easy race in that pattern. You cannot. There's no such thing.
So will he be aimed at the cross-country race at the festival? Will he run before that, or?
I would think he probably wouldn't. I think he probably likes to be fresh. His first run was sort of semi-educational. I think you have to do that on the cross-country because it's a completely different game. But once they've learnt it, they're terrific. And he loved it the first time. And that's the first race he's come back and run of any description since that Grand National. All last year was terrible. So we seem to have found a little, we discussed it, we could have gone hunter chasing or we could have gone cross-country. We decided with Lady Bamford and the team that we'd try the cross-country. We went and had a practice over there. I think Nico enjoys it as much as the horse, mind you. He loves doing things like that.
Well, this is a mid-season report, so let's have a look at some of the other horses. And one horse that's got an A star is Jonbon. He's come back better than ever, isn't he?
I don't know if he's better, but there've been 2 very sound performances. I thought he was excellent at Sandown the other day, and he's being much more sensible than he ever used to be. We're a cooler, sort of calmer person, and it makes it much easier from our point of view. And he's much more relaxed about the whole thing. So he's enjoying it. I think any horse that goes around Sandown like that with his ears pricked is telling you that I'm enjoying myself.
And I think that's, a lot of people don't realise what a different horse he is now compared to the horse that turned up, having been sold at that sales, getting that expensive price tag, which wasn't his fault, but he came here with a lot of expectation and took a lot of time to calm him down, and you've done brilliantly, the stable, to get him to where he is. He's won 17 of 20 races, many of them Grade 1 contests, and he's more relaxed now than he's ever been.
Oh, totally. That is the whole. He used to sweat like nothing on earth. He does at the beginning of the season. We take him off in the horse box and dump him on Newbury Racecourse, walk twice around the paddock and bring him home again. And then he can have a sweat doing that. The first time he will do. Then we take him away and have an actual gallop. In funny, last year we actually took him to Windsor because they wanted the horse to go and gallop round the bend. I said, well, I'll bring Jonbon because it suits me really, really well. And again, it's sweat. You've never seen sweat like it, ever. But by the time he's had 2 good sweats, and then we go to the races for the proper one, he's got that out of the system. And by the end of last season, he was being good, and he's good already this season. No fuss. Doesn't worry about it.
So a couple of other horses to look at. Iberica Lord, who ran in a novice chase that you like to win. What's the news on him?
I think he could possibly go to Ascot this weekend. The 2 mile 2 novice handicap. Well, he might suit him quite nicely. Yeah, I mean, keep going. See, a lot of these horses, you know, they need to have 4 runs to get them into the principal races. So you've got to keep going a little bit.
Impose Trois, were you going to go chasing with him? Or not?
Yes, I was, but again, same thing. He's a dark horse because he shows you up. His work is appalling. You get, you know, if I said to somebody, oh, well, Jonbon, or whatever, what's he working with? Well, you might say if he was working with Impose Trois, you'd, oh, well, that's quite good, yeah, good. No, I could run faster than Impose Trois here. That would not be a difficult thing to do. He's extraordinary. And then he comes out the other day, and I don't know how he even gets himself fit, actually. And he was very good. He went well.
I was surprised. He seems to have been around for ages, but he's only had 8 runs, hasn't he?
This is only his second season. Yeah, he came over and Iberico Lord because they are the IJs, so they're they're a year older. Because they're born in France, they have to get named as yearlings, but they have to begin with the letter of the year. So all the I's are 5, all the J's are 5. I's must be 6s, yeah. And K's now, we've got 2, yeah, and the 4-year-olds this year, there's 2 or 3 of them that have come from France this year, and they all begin with K.
So is Kintzine one of them?
Kintzine and Charisma. They're both coming along, they'll be ready in the new year.
And Palladium is the kind of the horse that people are talking about because of, once again, of where he's come from, winning the German Derby. Still a colt, obviously, so maybe flat. People are thinking maybe flat as well as hurdles, but...
Well, no, we've said that. We said, I mean, this is, it's not only a dual purpose, it's a slightly tri-purpose project. Yeah, he could easily run over hurdles. We have schooled him and he loves it, which is good because the colts aren't always, you know, most of them would get gelded before they come jumping, but there's plenty of colts that do jump. Especially if they've got the right temperament, which he definitely has. Lovely. Not a bad thought in him, which is great. And Nico's been popping all over the place on him and adores him. He thinks he's wonderful. So we might well appear after Christmas. He won't be doing a lot of it because, as I say, it's a tri-purpose one in that the dual bit will be then the flat. I think the people that were underbid were wanting him for the Melbourne Cup. So that's a good excuse to go down there for some bit of a holiday.
Go back to Australia, where you've been before.
Australia, yeah.
And just a few others to talk about, if I may. Jinko Blue, is it talking about dual purpose? Is he going to be a hurdler or a chaser? Or
Jinko Blue?
Yeah.
The horse that, well, he was very impressive at Uttoxeter the other day. I mean, that was his novice chase, and he's, you know, Tony Barney, a great character. He had 3 horses. On the Wednesday, it must have been, Jinko Blue went to Uttoxeter. That was a good race. And I thought he was impressive. It was a good performance. Friday, another of his horses called Deteller's Fortune. So on the Thursday, sorry. Deteller's Fortune won at Taunton, which was great. And then on Friday, out comes JANGO BAIE, who was very, very impressive. So I've told Mr. Barney he can go away for Christmas now and leave me alone until he can get him back in the new year for when we start again. No, terrific fun. A great thing to have 3 horses and win novice chases 3 consecutive days.
And would that be over Christmas, Jinko Blue, or is that...
No, Christmas is only the week after next.
Yeah.
We stop racing on Saturday, after Saturday. Yeah. That's it. So we can't, you know, that's the end of pre-Christmas. We've only got 4 days of racing left before. Then it all starts again. You get the Christmas New Year period. No, they won't be coming out then because they have only just run now. Certainly not be coming out quickly.
Okay. Some other horses that we've been asked to ask you about. Shanna Bob.
Yeah. A tad disappointed with his first start over fences. He looked a bit sort of laborious in it, and he ran all right, but only he's a difficult horse to sum up. I know he won a Grade 2, well, he won the Albert Bartlett that we had last week, Cheltenham, last year. He was impressive doing that and got a bit of a, I don't know whether he got a bit of a lofty reputation there. He's got to get back to that sort of form. He does jump really well here. I didn't think he jumped it the other day as well as he can do. He'll be back. He will be out soon after Christmas, yeah.
And there's a few other horses that I want to ask about. First Street, you were looking forward to going novice chasing.
He's going to have entries. He schooled over fences last week. He was great. He's in good shape, actually. His work's just sort of coming to a peak.
And Wise Guy came out and won again for you?
That was impressive, actually. He did come back with a bit of a problem, but I mean, it's not a long-term one. So, and I think he probably wants to be fresh. He stays 3 miles. That was a good performance. And I like that.
Jericho de Repenay, obviously there was lots written about the situation at Sandown. You then ran him at Newbury in a hurdle, the old Jerry Fielding, I think it was, and ran 5th. What did you think? Was he okay before the race?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was fine before the race. I mean, Sandown was just a chapter of disasters, and I don't know what got at him. A horse with a very level temperament, shown us no issues at all. And we couldn't even get the tack on him. He would not let us saddle him. It was dangerous. I mean, anyway, we got him to the start. I said to anyone, don't be frightened to take him out. Then he jumped the first fence well, and then I've seen plenty of horses do this, and they go to that first ditch in front of the stand. It is a big ditch. It's very stairy. You've got the stands, and you've got people and crowds, and it's a very stairy fence. Altior never stopped looking in that ditch, and he jumped it 100 times. And you saw Jonbon. He got it wrong on the first circuit the other day in the Tingle Creek. And anyway, Jericho went to it, and it was ridiculous. He tried to jump this. And once you get up in the air that high, you've got to come down somehow, and it's not easy. So he was lucky to survive that. Then Jericho got him into a rhythm, and it was working. It was, I don't know if you remember that day, we were a little bit worried about the ground. There's nothing wrong with the ground. It was perfectly safe. But it was a little bit quick. And long, lush grass, and honestly, they were slipping around quite a bit on the day, and he just slithered into the last of the railways. I mean, literally from miles away. He was on skis, and that wasn't going to work, so they had to put him up.
Would he be going back to fences this year? Would you keep him over?
We'll
hurdles?
see. We could go either way, yeah.
And just several others, just a few more that you might not be able to tell me too much about, but a few people have asked. Bo Zenith ran a really good race at Cheltenham over the weekend. Are there any immediate plans for him?
Well, obviously not, because that was his first run for a year and a half. It was a bizarre run. Wilmant was the horse I was tracking at the time. Had jumped 6 flights of hurdles quite beautifully. I mean, you've never seen it done better. Goes to the hurdle going up the hill, jumps it as the others, brilliant, and somehow comes down upside down. They were very lucky to come out, but thank God they're both all right. It was horrible. Then I'm busy looking for Wilmot, by which time Bo Zenith was 10 lengths last, behind the whole field. And I'd rather gave up on him too. I was more interested in what had happened to Wilmot. And the next thing, I hear that Bo Zenith has sort of suddenly sprouted wings and took off up the running and finished 3rd, which was a remarkable performance. He's perfectly okay afterwards. I think James felt, and I think wherever we go next time, you'll probably see him on a flat track. He said he just didn't handle that at all. And that's how he got so far behind. But then when he hit the rising ground, he was away. It looked ridiculous. I don't think you want to take it on face value, because it's easy to do that. And if you're that far behind doing nothing, not surprised when you get to the bottom of the hill, you're on a fresh horse. So he just overtook a whole lot of horses that were tying up. I think it's best. You won't come out. You don't want to run these horses quickly when they're coming back from long layoffs. There's no doubt that what we call the bounce factor does exist, and consequently, which is running them back too soon after their first run. And instead of improving, they actually have gone backwards. You've got to give them plenty of time to get that first run digested and settled down, and then you can start again. So he won't be out until the middle of Jan, I wouldn't think, anyway.
And Break My Soul.
I like her. I don't know what happened the other day, though. I mean, it was funny. She got herself all in a stew as well. And, yeah, that was disappointing, because otherwise she's done very little wrong. She got beaten a nose in her first run at Ascot this year, which was annoying, because that was a very valuable race. And she loves fast ground, and she's very good to Amwood jumper fence. We'll see.
And just a couple of more. Kingston Pride is a horse that one or two have actually mentioned.
Yeah, again, I like him a lot. I think ground is everything. I mean, Sandown, where he ran, that in that listed hurdle the other day over 2.5. Sandown, when it's very, very wet like that, is a law unto itself, and you either go in it or you don't. And he was a don't. We'll have to find him something better. His previous 2 starts, which he'd won, were all on nice ground, and he'd found it very easy. But I think that was by the ground, and this just really, he just couldn't cope with it.
Doesn't look like you'll have a runner in the King George, but you've won it on plenty of occasions. One of the biggest races of the season. What did you make of the runners this year? I know Hewitt came from the clouds to win it last year. The ground's obviously going to be dependent for him. And Grey Dawning is the favourite, following that great run in the Betfair Chase. Yeah,
he looked like he was going to canter all over that, didn't he? I mean, yeah, I think you could take it. This ground is going to be unseasonably quick, or not quick, because Barney's never going to let it get quick. But I was talking to him the other day, and I don't think he's got a lot of rain forecast between now and then. It could be genuinely good ground, which is great for everybody. I mean, that's what everybody wants. There'll be some soft ground horses that won't want it. Yeah, as you say, Hewitt won it last year. I've got to say that I think Chishkin would have won it, although the Sharp won't agree with that one. But, yeah, I mean, it looks as if it's wide open. It does depend what comes over from Ireland. It's strange that there isn't a solid one. One of the fancied horses, Willie's not attacking it very hard at the moment. I think while he's doing that, it'd be an awful sensible thing for Willie to keep Lossymouth at home as well. I might sort of suggest.
I was going to say, he does it for other races. Perhaps he'll do it for
I don't know why he'd want to suddenly just bring Lossymouth on her own. I'd be keeping her at home. No, I don't know. It's open. Yeah, Grey Dawning. Well, I mean, he looked all over the winner of Haydock in some desperate ground, so you'd like to think he must have come on a fair bit from that. And he's probably on his Novice Chase form. He'd be the sort of, he looks like a very solid shot, yeah.